Whether you're in Austin or in North London, you're here because you love the Longhorns. Welcome to Inside Texas Football. We're talking over some questions, Eric, that you fielded, and all of us fielded over to Inside Texas yesterday during our community Q&A. If you missed it, we run it every week. Make sure you come over to Inside Texas, join. Every week we run that Q&A, but daily we are bringing stuff on the football team, recruiting. We just posted a big official visitors list. We got 2028s to talk about, baseball in the SEC tournament, so much going on over at Inside Texas. So come make sure you join the party. $1 for 3 months gets you pretty much all the way up to training camp. And we got a few really good questions that we'd like to go over. And this is always a good thing because not only does it jog our brain, Eric, but it gets us going on what we really need to cover, what the people want to hear about.
Yeah, I love the Q&A. I also go talk to the same group for the last 10 years, first Thursday of every month. And, the same thing that makes you crystallize what you believe, what you think, what you know. And a lot of times we get questions that we need to investigate that maybe I hadn't thought of that angle, and it's time to go get some answers from people that know better than I do. So, yeah, Q&As are great. I love it.
Let's go ahead and start with the topic of the video, the topic that Taylor T. Room brought up. Is the 2026 Ohio State game the most important, and does the staff think it is? A win would mean that Texas still has 2 losses to work with, and a loss means their margin for error is only 1 more defeat. What are your thoughts?
Well, every time I see a question from Taylor, I go, oh, man, I'm going to have to put on my thinking cap. But this was a lot more easier for me. And I was on my phone. I was like, oh, man, this guy usually needs a really in-depth answer because his questions are so fully developed. But this to me is simple. I mean, yeah, it is a must win. I do think it is our most important. And some will critique that as, I see Cotton over here saying Tennessee sets a tone for SEC play. There's a case to be made for that. But, I mean, the goals are so much bigger than just the SEC. It's about at least making the playoffs. I mean, just making the playoffs is not good enough. So, setting the tone for the season as Utah, to borrow Cotton's phrase, but yeah, it sets the tone for the season. But number one is it cuts them just a little bit of slack to where, very unlikely that they'll leave the decision up in the hands of a playoff committee, a bunch of bureaucrats. That's the last thing Sark wants to do. He's treating it like an absolute must win. I think it is for the most part. Now, as I've said on here before, and I've said on IT, I do think a 9-3 Texas team can make the playoffs, especially if their schedule remains as tough as it is on paper, and if they play a lot more cleanly than they played last year. It was a very ugly 9-3 last year. There's ways that 9-3 can look a lot prettier, especially against a very good schedule, if those teams actually deliver and are good. But yeah, I do think it is. It's momentum. Look what the Alabama game did for them in 2023. It really set the tone, and people forget that season got kind of hairy there for a while. Towards that November was we were kind of wondering, they weren't playing all that great for a long stretch there. Remember that U of H game? They almost lost that. There was a couple of games that got really touch and go, but they bought themselves a little bit of breathing room with that Alabama win. This a good start to the season. Sets them off on the right foot. It probably means there's probably embedded knowledge in a win that Sark nailed the offseason, which is very important. It probably means that Arch is at least getting over some of the issues that plagued him last year. And I think it also just sets the tone for the season and buys them a little bit of breathing room.
I think there are a lot of Texas fans who say playing the Ohio State game is what kept them out of the playoff last year. If you're going to believe that, I think you also need to believe that playing that Alabama game is what put them in the playoff in 2023.
Yeah, because they wanted to put in Alabama over Florida State, but they couldn't do that justifiably without putting in Texas at number 3.
Yeah, so a little bit of give and take on that front. This one is broad, but you kind of go into a just philosophy of building a class answer to this question from Jimmers. What's your overall take on the 2027 class? You dive into where we are in May. Again, we talked about official visitors coming up. They have pretty much 50 prospects making their way to Austin. They're not going to sign all 50. They've only got, I think, 11 or 12 committed at this point. The class is going to end up at 25. So where do you see things heading, and how do you see where things are now with this 2027 group?
Well, I mean, I like what they have assembled, but you have to keep in mind, what they're trying to do. And you have to understand that economics play a big part in recruiting classes now. You could see A&M is number 1 with a really good class. Texas Tech has a good class. OU has a really good class. So I know some Texas fans see that and get a little antsy about recruiting, but you have to remember that this is there's 3 pillars to roster management. I don't care about the class isolated from the rest of the roster. You have to take them all together and look at them as each individual pillars, but they all tie together. They're all holding up the same structure. So you got retention, which is also important, very important. And then, of course, what's most notable in fans' minds is the roster or is portal transfers. So it's all tied together. It's all operating out of the same financial pot. If Texas had to go really big in the portal this next year, Texas went really big in the portal this past year to build up for a win now season. And I think they're still trying to figure out what 2027 could look like. Is 2027 also a win now season? Probably not, given the amount of people off to the NFL draft. And if that's the case, we're going to see them probably go a little bit harder in recruiting. I think they're still trying to figure that out to some degree. A lot of guys in the class right now have upside, but obviously aren't the most high profile players. And so that, high profile is associated, it correlates with cost. June and July is the ramp up to those really, for lack of a better term, the expensive commits. Tyler Atkinson last year, Derek Cooper last year. We've seen a lot of Texas win a lot of those in the past. Colin Simmons a couple of years ago. And so that's when you start seeing the 5 stars most likely make their decision. So Texas is in a great spot. We've been covering the big board nonstop over there. And some of the positions are just in such good shape, they're going to have to turn a couple people away.
6 out of the 11 members of the class are ranked outside of the top 300. But I think you've made a good amount of noise over on the board that those are 6 really strong, really smart takes for this class, especially as you try to build on the 5 other guys who are in that top, 260, because Noah Roberts is ranked 259, and that's pretty low for what he put on film. But that still sets up the potential for, think of a Bryson Thrower, who is also criminally underrated. Think of some, the defensive linemen that they're looking at with Fakato and Kasai Curry. Think of Toa Satelli. They have, I think a point you've been making a lot is there's a really strong base with some of these guys like Cade Hogg, who may not be an instant contributor, but is probably a guy you can look at in year 2 and year 3.
I had a high school coach call me up about him yesterday, and he goes, "Man, I didn't realize this guy's that fast. He's running 11,300." Yeah. I know he's a real athlete. He's big and he's long. He's a legit athlete, and people are just underselling that. We call that the money ball recruitments, and then June, July is the money bag recruitments. But I will geek out over a decision like taking Jackson Cook over Peyton Miller. Now, Florida went hard to get Peyton Miller out of Texas. Texas liked Peyton Miller. Texas Tech liked Peyton Miller. He's a good player. But what's the difference between him and Jackson Cook? Well, some schools are going to have that as a financial difference. It's not just the player on the field. I'll geek out over them saving money on a guy knowing that that's going to get used somewhere else. Here's a much more generic and obvious example for fans. When they missed on Michael Fasusi, what did that mean for Justice Terry? It meant Orange House. So all those little bits that you save here and there, it goes towards the buildup, and hopefully it results in fireworks. If not on 4th of July because of our historically bad luck on the 4th of July, later in that month when your annoying neighbors popping off fireworks on July 15th instead of the 4th. That's kind of Texas recruiting.
When Charlie's at the family cookout in Duncanville and the green smoke starts flying. Oh, man. Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor. That's Luxe Kitchen and Bath.
Are you ready to love your kitchen and bathroom again? Luxe Kitchen and Bath will bring that to life. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring your dream vision to life. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team also provides full home remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today, or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get your free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE, or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Contact info is in the description.
Cover a wide range of stuff in these Q of A's, and 69 others has, including this upcoming season, the top 2 offenses and top 2 defenses of Sark's tenure at Texas.
Yeah, I love that username because I'll post something and 5 minutes later I'll see him and one other guy liked it, but I think like 70 people responded already. Including this upcoming season, including this upcoming season, I'll have the 2026 offense ranked number 1 and 2023 offense ranked number 2. And the 2023 offense was better than it showed late in the year after Jonathan Brooks got hurt. And that passing game wasn't quite what we thought it was going to be, but it was still pretty good. Especially that mid-range game. Quinn was deadly. I expect this offense to blow that one out of the water, largely because of the vertical passing game, and then following it up with the run behind it. 2026. If the 2026 offense isn't Sark's best, we've got some serious problems. As far as defense, I'll go 2024 defense for now. Obviously, that was an elite secondary. Now, they did catch some luck in that they didn't face many good quarterbacks. So they're going to this defense this year might be better on the field, but maybe not statistically because they're going to face a lot better quarterbacks. But if you just look at that, let's say Sark has his best offense and his second best defense. That kind of leads into Utah Horn's question right there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this has been a big one. I know RT and I have talked about this, but would you consider anything short of a title game appearance a failure?
Yeah, I don't think life is that black and white. Football certainly isn't that black and white. I mean, what if they lose in the semifinals because the referee, swallows his whistle or screws up, or they just the ball bounces the wrong way? I don't know, man. Sark needs to play good football, have a good plan for the team, and let the chips fall. He needs to maximize his roster. If he maximizes this roster, then I think that things are going to work out. Right now, that doesn't mean you're going to win. It requires a bit of luck. I've been working up this post in my mind, figuring out if I even want to write it. But it's very likely that this season could look like Ohio State's when they won it. Like it's going to be some drama, some theatrics, some adversity. It's a tough schedule. I don't expect them to run the table like Indiana did last year. I think it's very well that fans are going to be down, and we're going to hear the bitching and moaning and all that stuff, and then they make the playoffs, and then I expect them to go on a run because they'll be battle tested. And I think, if Texas is putting it all together late in the season, we saw them start to put it together this past year outside of that Georgia game, but look how they looked against A&M. Look how they looked in the bowl game. I don't think anybody's going to want to play them. But, I'm not going to say if they don't make the national championship game, the season's a failure. But they need to play well, and Sark needs to get the most out of them. Now, if they catch some bad luck, we'll have to reassess.
I push back on that failure word too, but I've kind of been thinking like this is a team good enough to be playing for it all.
Look, expectations should be high. They've got the best roster in college football. I don't want to hear about anybody else. There's people that can compete with them at the top. I don't think there's people that can compete with them throughout the entire roster. And then you also have to factor in where the talent is measured to experience. They've got a lot of experience to go with the talent. It's the best roster cycle in college football.
Last question we pulled from the board from Great Scott 23, linebacker recruiting. Who ends up in the class? We kind of touched on this a little bit. And it looks like Texas is going to go coast to coast, maybe time like 50th state to, I don't know where New Jersey falls in line in the order, but they may be going coast to coast or maybe different places in between for where they're looking for linebackers. Yeah,
it's probably going to be 3. I think they're going to take 3. They've got Cade Howe, who I really like. Cade is a Mike. I think they've found lightning in the bottle twice with Rocky Cummings last year. And Cade Howe, this is why we talk about they're a 3-star, but the value is increased just because they're, Texas didn't have to break the freaking bank. So I love the Howe take, athletic and big, probably a Mike. Joakim Gouda, he was just at Georgia. Georgia just took an economic player at linebacker, and I'm imagine that's to save up. They've been taking some heat. They've had some flips, probably due to financials. Obviously Kirby wants to use the transactional angle where, hey, come here, we're going to make you a better player. You'll get your money on the back end if you become a good starter or make it to the NFL. Of course, you'll get that money. But not everybody wants to hear that. A lot of players think they're going to maximize no matter where they go, and that's true. That is true. So Joakim Gouda, I think Texas is number 2 for him. He's really good. He could play Mike. He's athletic enough to play Will. Probably the first linebacker that ever told me he likes to play tennis. That was a bit surprising. And you've got, let me see, Toa Satelli, who I think is perfect for this class because, like I said, you probably got Haug at Mike. Toa Satelli is a long, rangy, athletic will. We've kind of seen that player in the past with Ty Anthony was there last year. Marvin Overshone famously played that sort of like moved around like a cheetah out there. Jaden Nelson taking an official visit, committed to Tech. I think Texas can get him. It just kind of depends on how aggressive they want to be. NIL is going to matter. Texas has as good a relationship with him as Tech does. So we'll see. I was at that school not too long ago. Izzy Hammonds, kid out of Oklahoma. We're tracking that one pretty good. And then I talked to Makai Allen's coach. Makai Allen's up there at famed Don Bosco Prep, where JT Geraci, the tight end in the class, plays. I talked to the coach yesterday, and Texas is definitely in that one. But you got to watch A&M. A&M's being very aggressive. They've got that Don Bosco, at least a hint of a pipeline there, having Chase Besantis from there, and then he just got drafted. They're kind of playing that angle. And he also likes South Carolina, Tennessee, and maybe a couple others. So that the board is in good shape. But if they want, two more, they're going to have to do a lot of work with the guys that I just mentioned.
Going to be a real fun position to track. Make sure you come track everything with us over at Inside Texas. $1 gets you 3 months. That gets you basically all the way up to the start of the season. We know you're going to want to stick around once you see all the great recruiting, team, and everything Longhorns Insight we've got over at Inside Texas. Eric, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.